Hey everybody, welcome back to Raising Vibrations Astrology. And today I'm really excited to be sharing with you two things. The first one is a series that I'm busy producing at this point, where I'm going to be talking about the 12 archetypes from Aries to Pisces. And what I basically want to be highlighting through this 12 video series is, what does the sign look like when it's distorted through the old paradigm and conditioning that humanity has evolved itself through? And what does it look like when we have the authentic, balanced, feminine, masculine way of actually manifesting the archetype? Now, this experience that you will have with this is my personal perspective in terms of how I see the archetypal structures, how I'm experiencing them. And what I encourage you to do with this video series is experiment with how you are observing when the archetype is manifesting a certain way in your life, and when it is manifesting through what I suggest from my point of view is the balanced masculine or feminine expression, how these things should be operating. I feel personally, when you're in consciousness or in conscious alignment of the archetypes and your astrology chart. This is the point, right? The point is for you to go back to your astrology chart and observe how this is operating for you, so that you learn the astrology through your direct experience versus needing to spend all of your life reading the internet descriptions of it. You can actually watch it for yourself so that you've got your knowledge. And then the second thing is just an announcement to say to you that I have recently received a request to actually finish the relationship astrology. And as soon as I said that, I heard many people go, "Finally!" And I know, I'm sorry. In fact, I actually started it at the beginning of this year, right? Or maybe even the last. And I'm now in a space where I need to respond to that. I need to put that up there. So there's a lot going on in terms of me giving you guys some material that I feel you can work with at this stage. But this is actually meant to be an introduction to the 12 sign astrology archetypal discussion around the balanced versus the distorted. So what do I mean when I talk about taking archetypal structures and saying how they're operating through our lens of perception of reality, and how it could be actually manifesting itself when we are in a higher vibrational state, or we're observing consciousness as it actually is, okay? So I think the big thing here in terms of, fine-tuning your frequency into what I'm trying to say is that each sign has been crafted, designed, created. When I say sign created, crafted, I don't mean that somebody's got like some god has gone into the top of the sky and crafted Aquarius and said, "This is what it shall be." And then, that's not what I mean. I mean, in the sense that we as human beings have responded to these planetary or these archetypal structures within ourselves, and then through observation, correlation, noted them down and said, okay, this is what it is. And because I have so much Uranus, Aquarius, Sagittarius stuff in my astrology chart, I need to break this paradigm. And I'm the type of person that will take something that is completely okay and say it needs to be revolutionized because it can be done a different way. It's like I have to shift the perspective as always. So the point here, again, is to look at the archetypal structures and ask ourselves the question, are we going to, or can we be prepared to look at the signs and symbols as they are and ask ourselves, how much of it is what has been just collectively projected onto us, and through that collective projection, us just absorbed information and then gone and said, okay, well, I have Saturn in this house, so therefore this is what it means for me, and I'm going to run along and do those things. And I think what scares me the most in that awareness, in that what I see over there, not only from my own direct experience, and maybe that's my own stupidity, but when you see the contrast between the actual archetypal manifestation in your life, and that can only come through, very sensitive observation and clarity around how that archetype is working. Like, and what I mean by that specifically is that if you have, again, I'll use my personal example, Saturn in 10th house Scorpio, okay? Now, for me, reading the sort of just gelled together information of what that means on the internet, it brought me to a space where I was operating from this idea of what it was. And I wasn't actually seeing how my body was showing me what that energy pattern is inside of me. And I think that that transition between the realization of not following an idea of what the energy is, but actually seeing it manifested inside of yourself, that transition between external to now internal is catalytic in itself. Okay, it's just like, oh my God, so you mean to tell me that I can kind of like understand the nature of my own astrology chart just by being energetically present with it? And most of you that are watching this video probably understand what I mean and have done this. So it's not like, this new revolutionary thing. And that's what I meant. It's okay. It's just I'm trying to change the perspective of it in some way. But the point is to come back to the body and say, okay, Saturn in Scorpio means this for me. And this is how I've experienced it. This is how I have engaged in this archetypal structure. And what it does is it separates you from the collective's perception of it and their own personal projections of what it is. And it allows you to then manifest the direct or connect with the direct manifestation of it. Okay. And then from there, you begin to ask yourself questions. You explore that. You say, okay, so how is this karmically related to me? Can I see it in my life? Can I explore the nature of this karma in my life? And what does that bring me to? Again, it's like asking that question, is there any relevance for me in this situation? And then from then onwards, get in touch with how you're responding to it. So that's one layer of what I'm trying to share with you here. The other layer is my personal interaction and seeing how the archetypes shift. So here's an example, okay? Many of us have this idea that Capricorn is the energy of responsibility. It is the energy of, finding my goals in life and taking charge and the father, etc. Whereas I feel like that was part of the old world. And when I say that was part of the old world, there are many different Earths that are present at this point in time. So if you're living in a place that has a specific ecosystem that supports masculine overdriven energy, and I talk to you about Capricorn being about this, then the context of your environment is going to be completely contradictory to what I'm sharing. So what I'm really trying to say here in this instance is that it's different for everybody. But where I'm sitting, and for many of you that are following me, that are on this kind of path to self-awakened state or illuminating and understanding this trajectory of why am I here, then Capricorn becomes the relationship of response. Just response. It's a feminine energy. It is responding. Listen to this. It's responding. I love how there's this Pluto conjunct Mercury in my chart where there's this deep, intensity about the voice, and then something will snap like that, and my moon in Gemini in the 5th house goes and it giggles because it laughs at the intensity being broken by this energy pattern of just, playfulness. So, I often think to myself as a mad scientist of some sort because of that vast contrasting reality of intensity where you're following and you're like, yeah, and then the next minute I'm like in this happy state. What? Okay, focus. Right, I'm back. So again, response. It is response. So the nature of Capricorn in your astrology chart is teaching you about how are you responding to your life. So life presents you with a certain couple of challenges. How do you respond to that? Do you respond by making a choice this way, or do you respond by making a choice that way? And then that response becomes the lessons that you experience. And Capricorn is all about the boundaries around yourself, the limitations that you have on your consciousness relative to conditioning. So everybody's Capricorn is going to be completely different in terms of your own astrology chart, right? And it's going to dictate to you, trust me, how you respond to life coming at you. Now, look at the difference between how this is operating. Now all of a sudden you have the Saturn in 10th house Scorpio, and I respond to life deeply with this feeling of like the abandonment of the father, okay, the loss of the father, right? But for me specifically, energetically speaking, what that means for me is that whenever I'm responding to life, I'm always responding with the absence of direction around what does it mean to respond to life with a sense of openness and ability to trust myself. Okay, the masculine energy is all about that protection archetype. So how do I protect myself in each moment? How do I respond to life with protection around security around myself? So I have my family, for instance, okay? And my job, literally Saturn, is to respond to this experience that I'm having and deeply understand that this is providing me with a platform to like get in touch with authentic protection, not the masculine dominated patriarchal control. I'm in a job that makes me feel silly and stupid and small, so therefore I've got to go project that onto my kids when I get home because that's my feeling of empowerment relative to the feeling of disempowerment. Do you understand this process? So it's that new way of actually relating to yourself, not only as a spiritual being that is experiencing consciousness, but also as somebody that is really trying to figure out why you're here and why is your karma in this way. Do you understand? So I'm going to leave the video over here because I feel like there's a lot of information in there and I've tuned into something that I wanted to share with you. This is a little introduction video, and I've already created the first 6 slides for everybody. So I intend to probably release each archetype within a 2-day span between the two so that everybody digests it. And so I'm really excited to be sharing that with you. And until then, have a fantastic day, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.